Hot news, Jimin and Jungkook's bond is unshakable, and what happened behind closed doors after their latest schedule has sent shockwaves through the entire fandom, proving once, and for all that theirs, is a love and a connection that was truly meant to last forever. Welcome back to Jimin Verse, your home for the most heartfelt stories, deepest updates, and unforgettable moments surrounding the people who move our souls every single day. If you are new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and join our ever-growing family of passionate fans who know that some stories are too beautiful to ever be forgotten. Today, we are diving deep into a story that has completely taken over social media, bringing millions of fans to tears and leaving everyone asking the same question. How did two young boys from Busan create a connection so profound that even time fame and unimaginable global pressure could never break it? To truly understand the weight of what recently transpired, we have to step away from the flashing lights of the stadium, away from the roaring crowds of thousands of screaming fans, and step into the quiet, sacred silence of a late-night hotel hallway halfway across the world. BTS had just wrapped up another monumental schedule, the kind of day that demands every single drop of physical and emotional energy an artist possesses. Rehearsals that started before sunrise, back-to-back global press interviews, high-energy stage performances where millions of eyes were fixed on their every move, and the overwhelming weight of being the biggest icons on the planet. To anyone looking from the outside, it was just another glorious victory in a long string of global triumphs. But behind the scenes, once the stage lights finally went dark and the arena emptied out, the human beings behind the legend were left with nothing but their exhaustion, their thoughts, and each other. Sources and staff close to the group revealed that after returning to their hotel, most of the members immediately retired to their individual rooms, desperate for a few hours of sleep before another demanding day. The energy in the hotel lobby was quiet, almost sacred, standing in stark contrast to the deafening chants that had echoed through the arena just hours earlier. The managers were quietly reviewing the morning itinerary, the security team was on high alert, and the hallway lights were dimmed. But instead of going straight to his room to rest, Jungkook did something that immediately caught the attention of those nearby. Dressed in an oversized black hoodie and loose sweatpants, looking every bit like the quiet boy who left Busan years ago, he walked past the elevators and headed straight toward the hotel's high-floor panoramic lounge overlooking the dazzling city skyline. He stood there alone in front of the floor-to-ceiling glass windows, bathed in the soft glow of thousands of city lights reflecting beneath him. Witnesses described him as looking deeply reflective, wrapped in a peaceful solitude that seemed almost untouchable. For nearly 10 long minutes, he stood without moving, without checking his phone, without saying a single word to anyone, just staring out into the night as if carrying a thought so heavy and precious that he needed a quiet place to process it. And then, without any prior plan or arrangement, the quiet was gently broken. Another figure walked into the lounge, having just changed into comfortable clothes after his own long night. It was Jimin. The moment Jimin noticed Jungkook standing there by the window, the quiet, distant atmosphere of the lounge transformed instantly. A warm, effortless smile appeared on Jimin's face, and he walked over to join him without hesitation. There were no cameras, no microphones, no fans watching, and no performance to give. It was just two people who have spent more than a decade living inside each other's lives, standing shoulder to shoulder against the glass. At first, the conversation was light, filled with the soft laughter that always seems to follow them wherever they go. They joked about tiny technical slip-ups on stage that only the two of them had noticed, laughed about backstage antics, and spoke fondly of the immense energy of the crowd during the encore. But as the midnight hours stretched further into the quiet morning, the lighthearted banter slowly dissolved into something far more profound, shifting toward a journey that began long before the world knew their names. Jimin reportedly brought up their trainee days, recalling the agonizing nervousness they used to feel before monthly evaluations. He laughed gently about that tiny windowless practice room at the old Big Hit studio, where they spent countless brutal hours perfecting choreography, sweating through their clothes. Staying up long past midnight while pushing each other to keep going even when their legs felt like they were going to give out. Jungkook listened in silence, a soft, nostalgic smile playing on his lips as those buried memories resurfaced one by one. He remembered the terrifying uncertainty of those early years, the vocal lessons that felt impossible, the relentless pressure to prove himself, and the overwhelming fear of a 14-year-old boy who had left his family in Busan to chase an impossible dream in the vast, intimidating city of Seoul. And as those memories flooded back, one realization stood out clearer than anything else. Through every single chapter of that terrifying, beautiful, and uncertain journey, Jimin was there. According to those familiar with the evening, Jungkook grew noticeably quiet as the discussion shifted from the past to the present. He wasn't sad. Rather, he was overwhelmed by an incredible sense of gratitude. Grateful for every struggle they survived, every stage they conquered, every award they won, and most importantly, grateful for the person who held his hand through the darkest corners of that journey. Jimin, noticing the sudden shift in Jungkook's demeanor, softly asked him what was going through his mind. For a long moment, Jungkook didn't speak. He just kept looking out at the endless horizon of city lights, taking a slow, deep breath, as if trying to find the exact words to express a feeling that was almost too big for language. The silence between them was comfortable, filled with the kind of unspoken understanding that only years of shared tears, shared dreams, and shared blood can create. And then, in a voice barely above a whisper, Jungkook made a revelation that would soon resonate in the hearts of millions across the globe. He confessed that whenever he looks back on everything they have accomplished, the stadium tour, the historic chart victories, the global awards, the massive record-breaking triumphs, his mind never goes to those giant milestones first. Instead, his heart always travels back to one specific, irreplaceable moment, the very first day he met Jimin. Jimin was caught completely off guard. He laughed softly, trying to tease Jungkook by reminding him of how ridiculously shy he used to be back then, how the youngest member barely spoke a word, and how he used to spend hours quietly observing everyone from the corner of the room rather than joining in. Jungkook laughed along, nodding his head without a single hint of hesitation, admitting that it was all true. But then he looked at Jimin and said words that made time itself seem to freeze in that hotel lounge. He admitted that while he was terrified and overwhelmed on his very first day as a trainee, the moment Jimin walked into that practice room with his bright, radiant smile, his unyielding energy, and his warm demeanor, the terrifying world suddenly felt just a little bit safer. Jungkook revealed that, while everyone else was focused on formal introductions and evaluations, he silently thought something he had never admitted to anyone for over a decade. He knew, right then and there, that meeting Jimin was going to be the most important moment of his entire life. Words like those don't just fall lightly into a conversation. They carry the weight of a lifetime. Reports say Jimin stood in complete, stunned silence for several seconds, staring at Jungkook as the words settled deep into his heart. The gentle, playful smile on Jimin's face softened into pure, raw emotion as he replayed those early years in his own mind. Neither of them tried to rush the silence that followed. They just stood there side by side, letting the emotional depth of the moment exist freely, untouched by management, untouched by public expectations, and completely hidden from the frantic pace of the industry around them. The conversation continued long past midnight, stretching into the quietest hours of the early morning. They talked about dreams that extended far beyond music charts and stadium dates. About the places they still wanted to explore together, the simple meals they wanted to share without a schedule hanging over their heads, and the quiet life they looked forward to after the storm of global superstardom eventually settles. When Jimin softly asked Jungkook what he thought he would remember most when everything finally becomes quiet years down the road, Jungkook's answer was disarmingly simple. He said he wouldn't remember the noise of the crowds or the size of the stages. He would remember the quiet laughter in backstage, dressing rooms, the late-night conversations over takeout food, the comfort of a familiar presence after an exhausting day, and the unwavering feeling that no matter how chaotic the world became, he was never truly alone because Jimin was standing right beside him. Before they finally said goodnight as the first hints of dawn began to paint the horizon, Jungkook shared one final thought that has since become the defining quote among fans worldwide. He quietly remarked that life introduces us to many people along the way, some who walk beside us for a brief season, and some who become fond memories. But every once in a great while, the universe brings a person into your life at the exact moment you need them most. A person who changes the trajectory of your entire existence without even realizing it. Jungkook looked at Jimin, smiled warmly, and confessed that Jimin was the very first person who made him feel that way. And that as long as his life continues to write new chapters, he hopes that feeling and that presence remains unchanged forever. When news and descriptions of this intimate late-night encounter began to circulate among staff and eventually leaked into fan spaces, the reaction across the global community was immediate and overwhelming. Social media platforms were flooded within minutes. Twitter, TikTok, and online fan forums erupted with emotional posts, artwork, and deep analyses of a connection that fans have cherished for over 10 years. But what made this story resonate so deeply was not drama or sensationalism. It was the overwhelming realization that what Jimin and Jungkook share is something exceedingly rare in this world. It is a bond that transcends the superficial nature of the entertainment industry. A loyalty that has been tested by intense pressure and came out completely unbreakable, and a love, in its purest, most sincere, and most enduring form. That was clearly written in the stars long before they even realized it themselves. To truly understand why this story has touched the hearts of millions, we have to look back at the historical timeline of their relationship, tracing the path of two young boys from the same hometown of Busan who somehow found each other in the vast, concrete jungle of Seoul. When Jungkook joined the agency at an extremely tender age, he was practically a child thrust into an environment where he had to grow up far too fast. He was quiet, intensely reserved, and often felt isolated by his own overwhelming shyness. Enter Jimin, a young man who entered the agency later than most, facing immense pressure, working himself to absolute physical exhaustion every single night just to prove that he belonged there. Jimin brought a warmth, a fierce dedication, and a deep emotional sensitivity that immediately reshaped the environment around him. From those very first months, an unspoken dynamic began to form. Jimin naturally adopted a protective, deeply caring role toward the younger boy, making sure Jungkook ate properly, encouraging him during difficult vocal sessions, and offering a comforting shoulder when homesickness became too heavy to bear. In return, Jungkook found in Jimin an anchor, someone who didn't judge his silence, someone who celebrated his talents with pure, unselfish pride, and someone who offered a sense of home when home was hundreds of miles away. As the years progressed and BTS began its meteoric, unprecedented rise to global domination, that initial trainee bond didn't fade under the weight of fame. Instead, it solidified into something legendary. Think back to the countless moments that fans have held dear over the years. Think of their travel journeys, like their iconic trip to Tokyo, where they documented their shared adventures with such profound artistic care, capturing intimate, joy-filled moments that felt completely separate from their idol personas. Think of the way they look for each other on massive concert stages, instinctively gravitating toward one another amidst a chaotic sea of pyrotechnics and thousands of fans. Think of the subtle, quiet gestures that cameras often catch only by accident. A comforting hand on a shoulder during an emotional speech. A shared inside joke that makes them double over in laughter, while everyone else is confused, or the way they seamlessly anticipate each other's needs without needing to speak a single word. In recent years, through travel shows like Are You Sure? The world got an even clearer window into the unfiltered reality of their dynamic. Audiences around the globe watched in awe as two of the biggest stars on the planet stripped away all the glamour and high fashion to simply enjoy nature, go kayaking, cook simple meals, and tease each other like old companions who have known each other for 1,000 lifetimes. What struck viewers most was the absolute ease of their connection. There is no pretense between Jimin and Jungkook, no need to maintain an image, and no anxiety about saying the wrong thing. There is only an overwhelming sense of safety, comfort, and deep-rooted familiarity. It is this exact dynamic that makes Jungkook's recent late-night confession in that hotel lounge feel like the natural culmination of a decade-long story. When Jungkook stated that his heart belonged to Jimin first and that it would be the last, he wasn't just making a romantic or poetic phrase for the sake of drama. He was stating a profound emotional truth about his life. Jimin was the first person in that daunting soul practice room who made him feel like he belonged. The first person who saw his potential before the rest of the world caught on, and the first person who earned his complete, unwavering trust. And after experiencing everything the world has to offer, after traveling the globe performing in sold-out stadiums, meeting world leaders, and achieving heights that no Korean artist had ever reached before, Jungkook looked around and realized that the person who mattered most at the beginning is still the person who matters most right now. This realization has struck a powerful chord within the ARMY community because it mirrors our own human desires for loyalty, connection, and true companionship. In a fast-paced modern world where relationships are often fleeting, where people come and go, and where loyalty is so easily traded for convenience, seeing two individuals maintain such a fierce, unconditional devotion to each other over more than 12 years is nothing short of miraculous. It gives people hope. It reminds fans that genuine, selfless love exists, that true friendship can survive the fiercest storms, and that when two souls are meant to align, no amount of fame, distance, or pressure can ever tear them apart. As social media continues to buzz with reactions, fans have been busy creating emotional video edits, rewatching old clips from their early debut days, and writing lengthy, heartfelt essays analyzing the poetic nature of their bond. One fan comment that gained thousands of likes beautifully summarized the global sentiment, reading, "In a world that is constantly changing, where everything feels temporary, knowing that Jimin and Jungkook have each other is the most comforting feeling in the world. They didn't just grow up together, they built each other." Another viral post noted, "Jungkook was just a young boy when he met Jimin, and now he's a grown man, a global superstar, a record-breaking artist. But when he looks at Jimin, you can still see that same young boy who found his home in Jimin's smile. That kind of love isn't just rare, it's eternal." What makes this ongoing story even more emotional is looking ahead to the future. Both Jimin and Jungkook have navigated massive career transitions, soloist breakthroughs, military service duties, and the constant evolution of their artistic identities. Yet, through every single major life transition, their alignment has remained rock solid. When they embarked on their military journey, they chose to enlist together through the companion system, ensuring that even in the toughest, most grueling environment a young Korean man can face, neither of them would have to walk through the darkness alone. That decision alone spoke volumes louder than any interview or public statement ever could. It was a tangible, real-world declaration that their commitment to protecting and supporting each other isn't just for show. It is the foundation of how they live their lives. When you look at the entirety of their journey, from two hopeful kids taking the bus around Busan to exhausted trainees practicing in a cramped basement to global icons standing atop the world to brave soldiers serving their country side by side, and finally to two mature men standing by a hotel window looking out over a glowing city, you realize that their story plays out like a cinematic masterpiece written by fate itself. It is a narrative defined not by loud, attention-seeking proclamations, but by quiet consistency, deep emotional intelligence, and a profound, unwavering respect for one another. As the morning sun fully rose over the city on that fateful day, the hotel lounge slowly emptied, and the group prepared to head to their next destination. On the surface, everything returned to normal. The managers resumed their duties, the schedules moved forward, and the hustle and bustle of global stardom took over once again. But for Jimin and Jungkook, and for the lucky few who witnessed or learned of their late-night conversation, something fundamental had been reaffirmed. It was a silent, powerful reminder that no matter how loud the world gets, no matter how heavy the crown of global fame becomes, they will always have a sanctuary in each other. That is why today's news isn't just another headline to be forgotten by tomorrow. It is a timeless chapter in an ongoing story that continues to inspire millions of people across every corner of the earth. It teaches us about the beauty of holding onto the people who saw us before we were successful, the importance of expressing our gratitude to those who stand by us in our darkest hours, and the unmatched power of a bond that refuses to break. Jimin and Jungkook have proven, time and time again, that their connection is not bound by circumstances, media narratives, or the passage of time. It is an anchor, a home, and a lifelong promise. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today on Jimin Verse and allowing us to share this breathtakingly emotional story with you. If this story touched your soul as deeply as it touched ours, please take a moment to leave a like on this video, share it with your fellow fans, and drop a comment below telling us your favorite memory of Jimin and Jungkook's unforgettable journey together. What was the exact moment that made you fall in love with their bond? How has their unbreakable loyalty inspired your own life? We read every single one of your heartfelt comments, and your love and passion are what keep this channel alive. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you never miss another deep dive into the moments that truly matter. Until next time, stay safe, love fiercely, keep supporting BTS with unwavering respect, and remember that real love and true bonds are meant to last forever, right here on Jimin Verse.